Hey guys, we are excited to show you some Bond Arms Derringers today, and I'm Drew 357. The first is the DT47, and the next will be the Cyclops 4570. Let's start this video by shooting these guns, and then after that we'll sit them down on the table and we'll tell you what we know about them. Let's get into the video. Before we get too far into the video, I'd like to thank some of our channel supporters. The first is Target Sports USA. We really appreciate them sending us ammo that we put through these firearms. They have an Ammo Plus membership for $100 a year. It gives you 8% off all ammo and free priority shipping on any quantity. The next is Ballistol. We really appreciate them sending us these cleaning fluids and supplies to keep these firearms clean and lubricated, but also performing at the highest level. And next, I'd like to thank Extra Carry. They've got this concealed carry magazine pouch that for small Derringers like these, it makes it really easy to keep some extra rounds in your pocket, but it looks like a knife, and no one would know that you have extra rounds in your pocket. It makes them very accessible and easy to get into the gun if you need more ammo. If you're like me, when you think of a Derringer, you might think of a tiny single shot like this Colt model Thuer right here in a Wild West movie. But in 1995, Bond Arms was born, and they redesigned the Remington Model 95 to make more modern Derringers that can shoot modern ammunition. Let's first take a look at the DT47, and then we'll move on to the Cyclops 4570. So this is the DT47 Satin package. Part of why it gets that name is because it has a satin finish, but also in this package is a leather holster that has the presidential seal on it, and it also has a carrying case that you can use to take it to and from the range. Now the DT47 is chambered in the .45 long Colt and .410, so similar to other firearms like the Taurus Judge and the Smith & Wesson Governor, it can shoot both .45 long Colt and .410. The capacity is 2, and the first shot is going to be the lower barrel. Part of the reason is because you'll have less recoil shooting the lower barrel first due to a lower bore axis, and then after that your follow-up shot can come out of the top barrel. You can reverse this just by pulling the trigger and resetting it to the top barrel first, but I recommend the lower barrel for the first shot, and so does Bond. The barrel length is 4.25 inches. It has no extractor, and part of the reason is because Bond wanted you to be able to see on a flat surface all these things for President Trump on either side of the firearm. So by keeping it flat, it just made it easier for them to do that. Now the length of the gun is 6.75 inches, the height is 4.37 inches high, And the weight, we actually weighed it just to confirm what they have on the website, came out to be 24.7 ounces on this Derringer. The barrels are interchangeable on these Bond Derringers, but you have to stay within the same frame size. The frame size on the DT47 and the Snake Slayer up here is called the hand cannon. But Bond also makes a frame called the Stinger, which is an aluminum frame. They have the Stinger RS. RS stands for Rough Series. That's another lightweight frame. And then, of course, over here you've got the heaviest frame, which is the Cyclops. There's a trigger guard on the DT47. The trigger pull, Bond advertises 7 pounds. We pulled the trigger a few times and it averaged out to be 4 pounds, 14 ounces. There's some fixed sights on the gun. It's almost a partridge style front sight and then a fixed rear. And Bond also has a safety. You can see here, just like most safeties, it has red here. The saying I use is, if it's red, you're dead. The gun is off safe. And there's also a way that you can turn off the safety. Bond gives you something in the manual that they tape in. It's basically a hex key so that you can lock the safety in the fire position or in the safe position. And I believe the idea is if you're carrying this and you want it in the fire position, you know that the gun's going to go off and it doesn't accidentally turn the safety on while you're carrying it. Now Bond does have some descriptions for the patent that they have on this design for pulling the trigger, so if I quote some of this it'll be coming from the website, but I want to do it justice. They call it a patented rebounding hammer, and what it does is it automatically locks in the half-cocked position. See how that came back like that after you shoot your first shot? And it has a retracting firing pin inside, and what this does is it protects from an accidental discharge if you drop this Derringer. And then I talked about earlier the crossbolt safety. Now this is a spring-loaded locking lever which you flip the barrel up. So what I like to do when I load the gun, I flip the barrel up like this away from me, I load 2 rounds in, I like to pull the grip up, and then I bring it around and I'll come up to take my shot. Now another thing I want to show you is that when you pull the trigger on the Bond Derringer, you just want to use the tip of your finger, and it's a downward pull. If you sit here and try to pull straight back, you are not going to get that sweet 4-pound, 14-ounce trigger pull that I got, but something much heavier. So I would not put your finger all the way through this trigger. I would just use the tip of it. And I found I like to put my ring finger at the bottom of this grip, and that enables me to cock the gun and pull the trigger with one hand without having to brace it with my other hand. The grips are B6 resin grips, and they're extended, which I personally prefer because I have larger hands, but you can get a lot of these Derringers with a smaller grip, and it will make it more concealable. Let's go ahead and move on to the Cyclops 4570. This is basically the same size as the DT47, but the Cyclops is their heaviest frame, and you can get this chambered in 44 Magnum, 50 AE, which is 50 caliber, similar to like a Desert Eagle that would shoot 50 caliber, and then of course the 4570, which this one is chambered in, making it the most powerful Derringer in the world. The Cyclops is only a single shot, so when you open it up here, that's it. You get one shot, and it doesn't have an extractor, so they give you a little spot here where you can put your fingernail in and you can pull out that cartridge after you shoot it. It's got the same B6 resin extended grips. The finish is a rough finish here on the frame, so you can see it has a little bit more of a matte look to it. It kind of gives it almost like a two-tone look from the barrel to the frame. And the gun is made out of stainless steel. Now the length of this barrel, like the DT47, 4.25 inches. The length is the same at 6.75. The height's at 4.37 inches high, and when we weighed this firearm, it came in at 28 ounces, which is a good thing because when you're shooting these 4570 loads, you need that weight to tame the recoil on this gun. And while I'm on that topic, I would not let a newer shooter shoot this gun. Please only let people that are more experienced shoot it because it does have quite a bit of recoil, and we don't want somebody to have this come up and hit them because it kicks so hard. The frame type is the Cyclops, so you can interchange other caliber barrels on this frame, but it has to be the Cyclops frame. So if you wanted to have it in 44 Magnum and 50 AE, in addition to the 4570, you just buy 2 other barrels. But with the DT47, you need to stay with the hand cannon size frame, and the same goes for the Stinger and the Stinger RS frames. And Bond offers all different barrels with all different calibers that you can interchange. And they make interchanging pretty easy. There's a spot right here where you could just put a hex wrench in here and the barrel just removes, and you put the other barrel in, and then you're off to the races to shoot. The Cyclops has the same system with fixed sights. This one also has a trigger guard on it. Now, when we did the trigger pull on the Cyclops, it came out to be 5 pounds, 5 ounces. So Bond advertises 7 pounds, but in this case, the trigger pull was less. So we were happy with that. It has the fixed sights, just like the DT47, the same patented rebounding hammer, retracting firing pin, and crossbolt safety design. And as I mentioned earlier, they wanted to make this firearm heavier to tame that really, really powerful recoil that you get from the 4570 cartridge. So I do have some other firearms on the table here. This is one of their flagship designs, the Snake Slayer. They put some grips on here that I think are very pretty. It's got a cobra there, or some kind of snake. It says Snake Slayer. This one can shoot just like the DT47, 45 Colt and 3-inch 410 rounds. Some other Bond Derringers will only shoot the 2.5-inch length 410, but these actually will shoot the 3-inch. Snake Slayer actually has an extractor on it, which is nice. When you shoot the rounds, you can extract them a little easier by using this. But as a result, you don't get that flat side on either side of the barrel like the Cyclops and the DT47. And then we'll look here at the Bond Bullpup 9. This is one of the only bullpup handguns in the world. It's a 9mm. I've actually got a full video of us taking this apart, telling you how it works. I encourage you to go look at that. But real quick, I'll show you the 9mm rounds go in here backwards, 7 of them. And the idea is the rounds in this gun, you can have a longer barrel because it actually pulls the rounds back and then it pushes them into batteries. So that's what makes it a bullpup design. But this is a very good carry gun, very reliable and extremely accurate. It's got dovetails on the front of the barrel and the rear to adjust your point of impact. This is one of my favorite carry guns. And then also on the table, I brought out the old Colt Thuer Derringer. This Derringer is probably at least 125 years old. I thought it was worth bringing it out since we were talking about Bond Derringers. It's chambered in the 41 Rimfire cartridge, which are very, very scarce and hard to find. There's not many people loading them. We've deemed this kind of a firearm that we don't shoot, just because when we've looked at the barrel, the inside of it just doesn't look too shiny in there, so we don't want to get hurt. But you can see just the size of, let's say, the Cyclops and the Thuer. There's just no comparison. This one's just so tiny. But Bond Arms, Gordon Bond is the owner, the CEO, and he basically bought the company from his brother, Greg Bond, who started Bond in 1995 and runs the company to this day. And Bond Arms is at the head of innovation. Not only do they have the most powerful Derringer here, they also have this bullpup design handgun, and they also have a really, really neat lever rifle that they're working on right now. I believe it's chambered in 5.56 or 223. It was introduced at SHOT Show not that long ago. We hope this video was helpful. If you are looking at Bond Derringers, if you have any questions, please ask them in our comments. You might also go over to Instagram. Our handle is @FieldStrip357, and we're also on Facebook. We'd love to communicate with you. If you ask us a question, we'll try to answer it for you, but trust me, if we don't know the answer, we will find somebody in the industry that we have communication with, and we'll get you that answer. We appreciate you stopping by and watching this video. We also appreciate your support. We'll catch you on the next video.